The next topic is Chabahar. Again it is IR, so you will link your IR with GS2. Effects of policies, politics of countries on India's interest. International treaties, agreement, India and its neighborhood, all these topics of GS2, you can add this there. So Chabahar Port is, or rather it was in news for quite a long time now. It has been more than, I guess, 8 to 10 years when this came in current affairs. Alright. The main reason behind acquiring Chabahar Port is to counter what? BRI. Counter Belt and Road Initiative and especially CPEC. Yes or no? I have enlightened you a little on CPEC yesterday. Yes, we had a very small discussion on CPEC yesterday. So this is why this came in news that India and Iran has now signed a 10-year contract for operating the Chabahar port in Iran. Earlier, why Chabahar was in news? India acquired the construction project for Chabahar. Like, for example, guys, all these developing countries, they lack investments. If you have money, you can do anything. Like, if you have money, you can, like Dubai is having air taxis. Soon air taxis will come in India as well. So what you need is investment. अगर आपके पास पैसा है तो सब कुछ है. But when, like, the biggest struggle when you guys will become a DM of a district and when you will command a district, there also the biggest struggle will be the finances. How much money to be allocated for what scheme will be the biggest task. So same applies at a macro level. So this, earlier India acquired the contract for construction of the project with Iran. Now Iran has given us a contract of operating the Chabahar port. This is a long-term agreement which was signed between Indian Ports Global Limited, which is a PSU, and a counter organization from Iran is Port Maritime Organization. So Chabahar Port is not just one port, first of all. It has multiple ports. Chabahar is a location. So which port India will be operating? Shahid Bahishti Terminal. Chabahar Port is made up of two terminals. Okay, one is Shahid Basti and the other one is Shahid Kalantari. So out of the two, which terminal will India be operating? Shahid Basti. Coming back to this, signing a long-term contract with Iran was part of India's strategic and economic vision for Central Asia and beyond. It will give us a connectivity to not just Central Asia, but it can be later on extended to Europe. So very quickly, if you can see, this is Chabahar, this is Gwadar, and if you remember, I have talked about this, that this is from where your CPEC is coming, and this same Chabahar port will become part of your INSTC, International North-South Transport Corridor. This is something I have mentioned yesterday as well, and I have asked you to read a little more on that. This further will be extended to all Central Asian countries and thereby reaching Europe. Alright? So one more important aspect of this is it is just 72 kilometers away from Gwadar Port. Just 72 kilometers away from Gwadar Port. Alright. Then Chabahar is located, like, what is the geographical location of that place? It is located, Chabahar is Iran's oceanic port nearest to India. It is situated in Sistan and Balochistan province on Makran coast. So have you heard of this Balochistan province? Balochistan is an area that lies in the western Pakistan and eastern Iran, bordering Pakistan and Iran. This is the Balochistan area. Okay, so the location is Sistan and Balochistan province of Iran. Chabahar Port project has two main ports, Shahid Kalantari and Shahid Basti. Iran has offered India the project of developing the Shahid Basti port, which was well received by India. That means we have agreed and we have signed a contract for next 10 years. Now, why this Chabahar port important for India? First, the progress and updates regarding the Chabahar port. India signed a MOU for development of the project in May 2015. This is what I have explained. In May 2016, India, Iran and Afghanistan signed a trilateral agreement to establish a international transport transit corridor, also known as the Chabahar Agreement. Now with this, like if you locate Afghanistan, Afghanistan is a landlocked country. They do not have access to any open ports. Now when you do not have any access to open ports, don't you think the first thing that will be impacted is your trade? Yes or no? So they are completely dependent on their neighbors. And those two neighbors are Pakistan and Iran. And in Pakistan, you already know that there is so much of instability. Pakistan is so much unstable. Whether it is political, whether it is social, economic wise, both the countries, Afghanistan and Iran, are almost fighting Pakistanis on their border. Every now and then you must be hearing some news of firing coming from the borders that the Pakistan share with them. Alright, so they signed a trilateral agreement with these three countries, and the name of the agreement was Chabahar Agreement. This agreement aimed to improve the transportation trade connectivity between the three countries, utilizing this Chabahar as a key transit point. However, the finalization of long-term agreement has been delayed by several factors, including differences on some clause in the pact. Like we started development of this project in 2015. Why operation started in 2024? That means there were some issues and challenges that led to this time. So what were the issues? The issues were how to settle the dispute. Let's say there is a trade dispute. It can happen anywhere. Even between good partners, a dispute can happen. Now when two countries are involved, the biggest question is where to settle the dispute. Like whenever there is a dispute, let's say a commercial dispute, when I say use this word dispute, do not take it as countries fighting. A regular trade dispute, commercial dispute between, let's say, two companies. One is an Iranian company, the other one is Indian company. Now where you will settle that dispute? What will be the jurisdiction of the courts? Will you go to Iranian court or will you go to Indian court? Or you set up a neutral country? Now this is again a problem. Iran wanted that since the court physically exists in Iran, so the jurisdiction should lies in Iran. But India was adamant, because if let's say some Indians are trapped, it will get very difficult for the Indian authorities to, proceed with the judicial system of Iran. Are you getting the complications that will arise? So this was the reason that what led to a delay. So the point of disagreement was the location of arbitration of the dispute. Arbitration means settlement of the dispute. India has preferred a neutral country. India recommended that we should keep a neutral country which will come as a dispute resolution, while Iran insisted on its own court or a favorable one, or any favorable location for Iran. This was one issue. However, now both the parties have agreed to compromise and satisfy their respective interests. The contract stipulates that any disagreement should be settled through open communication, cooperation between the leaders on both the countries. That means now both the countries will settle the dispute amicably. Where they have decided to settle their dispute, it will depend on the contracts. Each contract will have a special dispute clause. So, okay. So, fresh long-term agreement aims to supersede the initial contract spanning a duration of 10 years with the automatic renewable provisions. So, right now this agreement will extend it till 10 years, but it has an automatic renewal, a clause of renewal even after 10 years. So, it is not like that India is getting the access to this port just for 10 years, even the contract will be renewed later on. Now, what are the advantages of Chabahar? What is the significance of Chabahar? One significance we have already discussed yesterday. It will give you a alternate route, alternate to your traditional Suez Canal route. Okay. Now, even Suez Canal was an alternative route for the ancient routes. Like if you remember how earlier trade used to happen, it used to happen like how Vasco da Gama came into India. He traveled all the way from Africa via Cape of Good Hope. Why that Cape Town is known as Cape of Good Hope? Because the good hope was that they were approaching India. Alright, and that is why the place was known as the Cape of Good Hope. So वहां से पूरा घूम के इंडिया आया जाता था. But Suez Canal became an alternative which was much shorter and cheaper. Time saving, fuel saving, cost saving. However, now there are more complications coming in this route as well. First is the traffic. Second is the other geopolitical problems that this route has. One by one I will discuss those problems. So Chabahar offers an alternative route to bypass Pakistan, reducing India's reliance on its neighbor for trade with Afghanistan and beyond. First of all, it will give access to bypass Pakistan. Now imagine if we would have a cordial relation with Pakistan. Don't you think how easy it will be for us to carry out trade? बहुत ज़्यादा easy हो जाता. और ये जो पूरी बेल्ट है आपका, जो इंडिया का वेस्टर्न सेक्टर है, ये अपने आप में बहुत डेवलप्ड सेक्टर होता. The states of Rajasthan, Punjab, because they are sitting at a juncture. All right, but you know the condition of Pakistan, so there is a need that India should bypass it, and hence we are opting for these routes. Then Chabahar will also boost India's access to Iran, the key gateway to international north-south transport corridor that has sea, rail road routes between India, Iran, Russia, Central Asia and Europe. So it further will be joined in this and it will become a multimodal transit system. Multimodal transit system का मतलब when you have different modes of transportation. So it has ship, marine transportation, it has railway, it has road, and then inland river water transportation, etc. etc. ये सारे transportation आपका जो route है, it will become much faster and cheaper. All right. Then moving on to the next, economic benefit. The next significance of Chabahar will be economic benefit. It will play a crucial role to enhance connections with the resource-rich Central Asian countries and Afghanistan. Can you very quickly tell me what resources are there in Central Asia that we are seeking? Central Asia. Central Asia में oil कहाँ है? There is a one important resource that India requires right now, और वो Central Asia में abundance में है. Very good. Lithium is one, but there is one more. उससे भी important एक resource है. Lithium, even today इज अ फ्यूचर रिसोर्स। अभी भी लिथियम बेस्ड टेक्नोलॉजीज बन रही है, जैसे ईवी we are developing EV, we require lithium for EV technologies and all those things, so it's still a growing resource. But there is one more resource which is very much abundance in Central Asia. पेट्रोल नहीं है सेंट्रल एशिया में, है भी तो डिस्कवर्ड बहुत ज्यादा नहीं हुआ। एनर्जी रिसोर्स है, अ हिंट। यस, विच कंट्री? वेरी गुड। व्हाट्स सो स्पेशल अबाउट कजाकिस्तान? You are absolutely correct here till now. Kazakhstan has the largest resources of uranium in the world. And where do you use uranium? India is slowly developing our nuclear this thing. We are moving away from fossil fuel. We require nuclear fuel. Why India till now has not grown in nuclear technology? One reason is we do not possess advanced technologies in न्यूक्लियर। हमारे पास टेक्नोलॉजीज नहीं है। लाइक फॉर एग्जाम्पल, इफ यू आर अवेयर अबाउट दैट इंडिया इज स्ट्रगलिंग टू गेट न्यूक्लियर प्लांट्स, हमारे न्यूक्लियर प्लांट्स को अप्रूव नहीं करा जा रहा है। अमेरिका के साथ डील स्टक है, रशिया के साथ डील स्टक है, कुछ ऑपरेशनल प्लांट्स हैं, बट द प्रॉब्लम इज दैट इंडिया, हैव यू हर्ड ऑफ दिस थिंग? दिस इज नॉट नेशनल सिक्योरिटी गार्ड, ये वो वाला नहीं है, न्यूक्लियर सप्लायर्स ग्रुप। इंडिया हैज नॉट बिकम अ मेंबर, अभी तक हम इसका मेंबर नहीं बन पाए हैं, एंड एज अ रिजल्ट हमें न्यूक्लियर फ्यूल मिलने में भी प्रॉब्लम होती है एंड न्यूक्लियर एडवांस टेक्नोलॉजी मिलने में भी प्रॉब्लम होती है। सो इमेजिन इफ वी डेवलप अ फास्टर कनेक्टिविटी विद सेंट्रल एशिया, हाउ मच एडवांटेज वी विल गेट। एंड यही दो रिसोर्स नहीं, वहां पर और भी रिसोर्सेज है, सम रेयर अर्थ मेटल्स, और भी कई ऐसे मेटल्स वहां पर रिसोर्सेज है जो कि मॉडर्न टाइम में आपको रिक्वायर होंगे। ऑलराइट, सो दिस कार्गो मूवमेंट थ्रू INST इज एक्सपेक्टेड टू सेव 30% ऑफ कॉस्ट एंड 40% ऑफ टाइम। इट्स अ ह्यूज सेव, यानी जो सामान आपके पास 10 दिन में आना था वो 6 दिन में आ जाएगा। Don't you think faster trade means more profit, more commercial activity, more economic progress? Central Asian nation rich in resources but without direct access to sea like Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan have shown interest in utilizing Chabahar to connect to Indian Ocean region and tap into the Indian market. They will get access to a very big market like India. Like आपने देखा होगा ना, इंडिया में कुछ भी खोल दो, हर चीज बिकती है। वी हैव सच अ लार्ज कंज्यूमर बेस। ऐसी कोई चीज है जो इंडिया में बिकती ना हो, जिसकी मार्केट ना हो। वी हैव सच अ लार्ज कंज्यूमर बेस, सब बिकता है। सो द इकोनॉमिक बेनिफिट, एवरीवन अंडरस्टूड? मूविंग ऑन, द नेक्स्ट पॉइंट विल बी ह्यूमैनिटेरियन असिस्टेंस. Chabahar can serve as a crucial entry point for humanitarian assistance, reconstruction efforts in Afghanistan. वैसे तो ये सिर्फ बोलने की बातें होती है, लिखने की बातें होती है. Nobody is right now eager for the development of Afghanistan. ठीक है? Like if you have studied a bit of history, Afghanistan is known as the graveyard of empires. वहां पर कोई भी, मतलब ऐसा कह लो कि अपना एम्पायर बना ही नहीं पाया, नॉट इवन द अफगानीज। कभी सेटल्ड गवर्नेंस वहां पर रही नहीं। ओके, ऑल्दो अफगानिस्तान इज ऑल्सो वेरी रिच इन रिसोर्सेज, लाइक तालिबान is right now in power. You never know till what time they will come into power. The democratic government was taken away. American influence, Russian influence, and there before that you know the medieval history of that region. Okay, so this port has played a crucial role in supplying of humanitarian aid, notably during COVID-19 pandemic. उस टाइम पर भी जो भी हमने वैक्सीन्स भेजी, it was via this route. 2.5 million tons of wheat and 2,000 tons of pulses have been shipped from India to Afghanistan via Chabahar Port. Like, if you know that India and Afghanistan are having very good relation. Okay, The reason is we have one common enemy, Pakistan. Why Afghanis treat Pakistani as enemy? Sorry? Border issues तो चलो ठीक है, but why they treat Pakistanis as their enemy? Like, have you seen them in cricket matches? अफगानी पीटते हैं उनको. The reason is Taliban. Basically, Taliban is supported and funded by the Pakistanis. Okay, so Afghani people have these sentiments that whatever tensions that they have in their country is all because of, and that is why they don't like Pakistanis. And then before Taliban coming into power in Afghanistan, अब Taliban तो अभी 1.5-2 साल पहले ही आया है पावर में, but before that, when there was a democratic established government there in Afghanistan, India has invested a lot in the infrastructure projects of Afghanistan. We have constructed one dam there, Zehranj Dam, Zehranj Highway. We have constructed their parliament. We have gifted them many military equipments. Sorry, hospitals. Yes, we have developed their hospital, schools. Not less than उनकी पार्लियामेंट हमने बना के दी है. सो ऑल दीज इन्वेस्टमेंट्स, ऑल्दो थोड़े टाइम से मतलब इंडिया के रिलेशंस अफगानिस्तान की गवर्नमेंट के साथ थोड़े से डाउनफॉल में आया है. इट इज बिकॉज ऑफ तालिबान कमिंग इनटू पावर, एंड इंडियन गवर्नमेंट हैज अ पॉलिसी ऑफ नॉन एंगेजमेंट विद एनी काइंड ऑफ टेररिस्ट ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस. हाउएवर, पहले तो हमारा ये स्टांस था, अब धीरे धीरे हम इसको भी डाइल्यूट कर रहे हैं, एंड वी हैव स्टार्टेड एंगेजिंग विद द तालिबानी रिप्रेजेंटेटिव्स, नॉट डायरेक्टली बट track 2 diplomacy, through track 2 diplomacy. Now what is track 2 diplomacy? Through our diplomats, through our people to people contact. ठीक है, जैसे शाहरुख खान is very famous there. Indian movies, Indian culture, Indian series like your Saas Bahu series, they are very loved there. So this is some cultural integration that we have with Afghanistan. So that is why ये जो वीट हमने भेजा था ना, वो हमारे ही हाईवे पे, जो मैंने जहरांज हाईवे अभी बताया, वो उसी हाईवे से अफगानिस्तान पहुंचा था. So it was a aid, humanitarian aid that we have provided. In 2021, India provided 40,000 liters of eco-friendly pesticide Malthion to Iran through the port to combat locust attack. Locust is that small insect. It was an environmental concern. ये पिछले 2-3 साल से लगातार एक कंसर्न बनता जा रहा है, locust attack. So it was much popular. It was impacting Iran, Pakistan, Afghanistan. उन countries को इसने impact करा था. So this is the humanitarian assistance till now we have delivered to Afghanistan via Chabahar. Then the next significance is strategic influence and regional stability. So by developing and operating Chabahar Port, India can enhance its strategic influence in the Indian Ocean region, thus strengthening India's geopolitical position. So don't you think India's presence in all that corridor will increase? India's dominance is a wrong word, but yeah, strategic presence will be there. Like one important strategic presence will be to counter Gwadar. Let's say if Chinese naval ships are present in Gwadar and Arabian Sea, so to counter them, our naval ships can also be present near Chabahar. If China will say that we are protecting Gwadar and we are giving security to Gwadar, our forces can also say that we are here because we are protecting our port. So strategic important. So Gwadar Port will act as a counter to China's development of Gwadar Port in Pakistan. Also, India can effectively respond to the case of sea piracy and serve as the first line of defense in Arabian Sea. This complete belt of Arabian Sea, Somalia, pirates of Somalia, this Arabian Sea is like every now and then, have you heard these news where pirates attack cargo ships? Okay, so this has become very common in that region. So India, it is India who always send our Indian naval ships for help. अभी पीछे दो तीन ऐसे कंटिन्यूस ऑपरेशन हुए थे, अगर आपने करंट अफेयर्स में देखा होगा, जहां पर इंडियन नेवल मार्कोस हैव conducted operation, and generally these pirates, what they do, they kidnap all those on board, like whosoever is there on board on merchant ships, they kidnap them. So India has carried out all those operations to free them. So it will help in this aspect as well. The next will be the challenges in this agreement. Now, to understand the challenge, you should know a little bit of geopolitics of the Central Asia, or not Central Asia to be precise, this Iranian belt. I hope you know this, that USA and Iran are in some issues. What are those? What is the exact issue there? Iran is trying to develop nuclear energy. America is trying to stop them. Then Iran say, we are developing this nuclear technology for electricity. So guys, I hope you know that how nuclear weapons are made. It is made through nuclear enrichment. Like when you enrich your nuclear fuel, you get energy. 4 to 5% enrichment of nuclear fuel will generate electricity. But with the same process, when enrichment reach 80 to 90%, your nuclear weapons are made. All those who are from science background will understand this very easily. Now, what has done? Iran has started their programs for development of nuclear technology for electricity. They have started their enrichment for till 3 to 4%. Now, what America did as a counter? America put sanctions on Iran. Now, what are sanctions? Barriers. Like any country cannot trade with Iran. Any country who is trading with America cannot trade with Iran. Any country who is having relations with America cannot have relations with Iran. So they have imposed sanctions on Iran. Now, as a result, Iran has left with anything, like they cannot use their oil, they cannot sell their oil, they cannot do any trade, their industries are getting impacted. So as a result, now Iran has become completely anti-US, and then now they have started, their enrichment program, and now they have reached around 10 to 12%. Now there are other reasons as well. There are other geopolitical concerns as well. For example, do you know Iran is a Shia state? Okay, and Iran is surrounded by many Sunni states. Like Saudi Arabia is a Sunni state. Iraq is largely a Sunni state. So you will see that Iran is always against all these other Islamic countries. So the biggest enemy of Iran is Saudi Arabia. You can say a competitor as well as the enemy. The word enemy is used because of some religious wars that are coming from the history. Okay, like every religion has some factions. Even Islam has some factions. Shia and Sunni are the two prominent ones, and both of them, they are I won't say that they are anti to each other, but their practices are opposite to each other. Alright, so because of this, there is a issue, and that is why US backs Saudi Arabia, US backs Israel, and that is why Iran has problem with both the countries, Saudi Arabia as well as Israel. So the geopolitical scenario in this region is very disturbed. So the biggest challenge is to balance our relation with US as well as with Iran. So although US has put some sanctions on Iran, however, they have also given some exemptions to some countries. उनका एक एक्ट है काटसा एक्ट, काउंटरिंग अमेरिकाज एडवर्सरी थ्रू सैंक्शन एक्ट. काटसा, countering America's adversary through sanction act. Under this, whatever I have just discussed, under this any country who is engaging with Iran cannot engage with US. Same sanctions are imposed on Russia as well. Same sanctions are imposed on North Korea as well under the same act. But India as a country is engaging with Russia. India as a country is engaging with Iran. So why it is happening? Because US has given some exemptions to India. India can do that. They have given these kind of exemptions to 2-3 other countries as well. So United States has warned India of potential risk of sanctions after signing this long-term main contract for development of Chabahar Port. So this is again a regular diplomatic stunt कि India कुछ भी करेगा, they will give a warning. Then India will also do and try to settle that issue by giving some by moving on some steps to improve relations with USA. तो वो चीजें बैलेंस हो जाती हैं. So the USA has imposed restriction on activities with Iran under various legal authorities since 1979 following seizure of US embassy in Tehran. So US has imposed this restriction and the problem is quite old. Earlier in 2018, US granted India an exception from specific sanction in order to support the advancement of Chabahar Port and building of a railway link to connect with Afghanistan. So this was an exemption that India received and we are using it. The second challenge is the Houthi in the Red Sea. Now Houthis, as I have very briefly mentioned yesterday, Houthi is a militia, civil militia group fighting in Yemen. Again the problem is Shia Sunni. These Houthis are Shia dominated group, alright, and Yemen, the government of Yemen is largely Sunni. So these Houthis are fighting a civil war with the government of Yemen. And now, because Houthis are Shia, they are supported by Iran. Right now, Iran are supporting all 3 militia groups in different regions. They are supporting Hamas in Palestine. Like, have you seen why Israel has attacked Iran in last couple of months? They are also fighting. Like, Israel says that their biggest enemy is Iran, not even the Palestinians and the Hamas. So their biggest enemy is Iran. Why Iran? Because Iran is supporting them. They are supporting Hezbollahs. Have you heard of Hezbollahs? Which country? Lebanon. Now for this, you go back home and try to see the map of West Asia. You will see Israel is surrounded by all these countries. North mein there is Lebanon, and within Israel, the western side you will find Palestine, and in Palestine there is a group known as Hamas. So Hamas को वो इजराइल में सपोर्ट कर रहे हैं, हेजबुल्लाह को वो लेबनान में सपोर्ट कर रहे हैं, और होतीस को वो यमन में सपोर्ट कर रहे हैं. And that is why, what is the recent development? Because Israel and Iran are fighting there, the Houthis, like if you have the map, if I can explain this thing with a map, okay, but इसमें Israel और वो सब नहीं है. If there is one more map, अगर उसमें दिख जाए, okay. So guys, this is Israel. Alright, this is your Iran. Here this is your Iran. This is Afghanistan, this is Pakistan. This is Yemen. Now what is the traditional route? The ships are going through this route and reaching here. Israel, although it is a small country, but they have huge investments in international trade. Investments in the form of all those merchant ships which is used to carry the cargo. Almost 80% of those merchant ships will have companies which are owned by the Israelis. वो जो companies है, वो जो shipping business जो control कर रहे हैं, it is managed by the Israelis. Now, if you understand कि आपके एक भाई बंधु वहां लड़ रहे हैं, Hamas is a भाई बंधु of Houthis, backed by one common parent, Iran. So, if Hamas is fighting Israelis, Hezbollahs are fighting Israelis, don't you think Israel will provoke Houthis to create instability in this region as well? And this is what Houthis are doing. Earlier, Houthis never used to attack military ships. Earlier they used to attack only military ship, but now their target is not just military ship, but they are targeting any ship which is passing through that region. जिसकी वजह से जो ट्रांसपोर्टेशन है, it has delayed further. All right. So this is again a challenge. Now can you understand why Houthis have become a challenge to Chabahar Port? Because any ship moving in Arabian Sea will face them. एक तो piracy है, उसके बाद ये है. So Houthi rebel can disrupt the sea lanes of communication, which will affect the traffic at Chabahar Port as well. अच्छा, don't think that Houthis are only targeting the ships in this region. ऐसा नहीं है. कई बार उनके पास बड़े मिसाइल्स भी हैं, कोई इधर भी शिप होता है या इधर भी शिप होता है, उनको भी वो अटैक कर रहे हैं. ऑलराइट, ये उनको भी अटैक कर रहे हैं. Then the next is we have done this challenge. The next challenge is the security concerns and regional tensions. So when US has exit from Afghanistan and return of Taliban there, it has created an unstable situation there which can negatively influence the trade relations with India. Now the polity of Afghanistan has completely changed from last 2 years since the time Taliban has came over. So when this has happened, there is no stable government in Afghanistan. तालिबान अपनी मर्जी चला रहे हैं, वो कुछ भी इनको जो अच्छा लगता है, they are doing everything on their own. Now as a result, when your trade lines are not secure, it will impact the trade. आप सेंट्रल एशिया से कैसे कनेक्ट करोगे? थ्रू अफगानिस्तान ही तो करोगे. When there is one country which is unstable, don't you think it will impact the complete project? So this is the biggest challenge right now. Unstable relations between Iran and some neighboring countries such as Israel, as well as the unstable political situation in the neighboring countries in Afghanistan and Pakistan is also taking a toll on India's economic interest at Chabahar. So this is what impacting Chabahar, instability around Chabahar countries, around Iranian countries. Then competition from similar projects. There is one more project that has been introduced by America, although India is also part of that, but it is a competitor of Chabahar International North-South Corridor, and this is IMEC, Indian Middle East Europe Economic Corridor. Now what is this? See here. IMEC is the biggest challenge. You remember I have talked about Abraham Accords. Have you gone back home and studied about that? तो आपको आइडिया लगा होगा कि how USA is trying to settle the relations of Israel with the neighboring Central Asian countries and the West Asian countries, how they are trying to do that. So the biggest issue was that this IMEC basically is an alternative to your Suez Canal route. How it is an alternative? From India to this port of UAE, it is Furjia, UAE का एक पोर्ट है. यहाँ से it will be a railway route all the way crossing Saudi Arabia and then entering Israel, Haifa port of Israel, and from there it will enter your Greece, France, or it can turn anywhere in the Europe. This is again an alternative to INSTC and as well as your Suez Canal route, right? Yesterday I was talking that why Palestine and Hamas attacked Israel on 7th October. It was a strategic attack. वो ऐसा नहीं था कि लड़ाई तो उनके बीच में बहुत टाइम से चली आ रही है. Why they have created instability in this region? It is because the dominance of Israel is rising in the region. Imagine if situation had been normal, अगर गाजा इजराइल पैलेस्टाइन वाला इशू ना हो, things will settle here. If things will settle here, Israel will get more business, because see at what important location Israel is located. Do you know that Egypt, who control this Suez Canal, right now their economy is dependent on Suez Canal. उनके पास कमाई का एक लौता साधन ही यही बचा है. If you counter this, Israel will become equally dominant economically. अगर ट्रेड यहां पर जितना ज्यादा होगा उतना ज्यादा इजराइल के पास ज्यादा पैसा आएगा. जितना ज्यादा इजराइल के पास पैसा आएगा उतना ज्यादा डोमिनेंस उसका उस रीजन में बढ़ेगा. यस और नो? सो the attack that happened on 7th October was to settle this dominance of Israel. See, no matter how strong your army is, when you enter a war, you divert all your economic resources to the war. अभी इजराइल की गवर्नमेंट वहां के लोगों के वेलफेयर स्कीम में पैसा नहीं लगा रही होगी. Every money that their government has, they are spending it on the military. Yes or no? तो don't you think अब इजराइल ऑटोमेटिकली कुछ साल पीछे चला गया? They will take time to recover from the economic shock that Israelis have gone in this war. So the next challenge to this is competition from the other projects such as IMEC. ठीक है, इंडिया को एडवांटेज इस प्रोजेक्ट से भी होगा. IMEC is also important for us. But अब आप देखो, the situation has become so complicated here that India is facing problem and instability here in Afghanistan, Pakistan and nearby countries, and India is facing complications in all this region. Plus Russia-Ukraine war is also going on. So everywhere the problem and unstable environment will impact both of these projects, both of the trades. और इसकी वजह से the result we have seen, the crude oil have started gaining the price, oil prices have started rising, and when international oil prices rise करते हैं, domestic prices भी rise हो ही जाते हैं, आपको पता ही है, and how it negatively impacts Indian economy. ठीक है, तभी तो आजकल सब्जी वाले भी इन wars का जिक्र करते हैं. Like if you go, like there was 6 months back I was buying some vegetables और कुछ सब्जी बहुत महंगी हो गई थी. आई गेस टमाटोज, याद है टमाटो आज से थोड़ा टाइम पहले काफी महंगे हो रहे थे. सो एट दैट टाइम अ वेजिटेबल वेंडर वाज एक्सप्लेनिंग दैट भैया वॉर चल रहा है ना, उसकी वजह से महंगे हो रहे हैं. like whatever the reason could be, but he is also so much geopolitically involved. So these things are linked in a way. ठीक है, इंडियन इकोनॉमी में भी इन्फ्लेशन आएगा बिकॉज 80-85% ऑफ आवर इंडियन फ्यूल इज इंपोर्टेड. ऑलराइट, वो हम बाहर से इंपोर्ट करते हैं. सो कंपटीशन फ्रॉम द अदर रूट्स. द नेक्स्ट चैलेंज इज कंपटीशन फ्रॉम चाइना. Chinese investment in Chabahar can undermine India's interest in Iran due to strong competitors like China. Like, don't you think India is the only country investing in Chabahar? Chabahar का सिर्फ एक पोर्ट इंडिया को मिला है. There are other ports as well, and Iran has a good coast. So don't you think they can give other ports to China if they offer a better deal, if they offer a more money, and China is doing that internationally. Then infrastructure development. Chabahar Port seeks improvement in infrastructure such as ports, roads, railways. It requires significant investments. इतना पैसा आएगा कहां से? Let's say इंडिया एक लिमिटेड अमाउंट तक ही तो इन्वेस्ट कर सकता है वहां. आपको सिर्फ एक पोर्ट नहीं बनाना, लाइक एक नेचुरल हार्बर तो ऑलरेडी है. सी, डू यू नो दिस दैट इंडिया हैज अ वेरी बिग कोस्ट लाइन, around 7500 kilometers of coastline that we have. But do you know that all major ships, all major merchant ships, they do not even dock in India. वो ships पता कहां dock होते हैं? They first go to Singapore and Colombo, and वहां से the goods are moved into much smaller ships and then they come to India. Because Indian ports cannot handle those logistics which are required for the bigger ships. हमारे पास वो logistics ही नहीं है. जैसे कभी किसी ने कुछ ऐसा करा है, कुछ इंपोर्ट कराने की कोशिश करी हो या एक्सपोर्ट करने की कोशिश करी हो? डू यू नो हाउ मच टाइम इट टेक्स? कई कई बार क्लियरेंसेस नहीं मिलती हैं. शिप इज स्टैंडिंग स्टेशनरी इन द डीप ओशन. वो खड़ा है वहां पर because either there is high traffic on the port, the ship cannot unload itself, or the clearances, they are waiting for clearances. Bureaucratic complications are there. So all these things have resulted into lack of logistics development in India. Can you give me a program which government has launched to develop Indian ports? Sagarmala. ठीक है, सागरमाला हमने बहुत रिसेंटली शुरू करा था इसी प्रॉब्लम को एड्रेस करते हुए. धीरे धीरे वी आर डेवलपिंग आर ऑलरेडी एस्टैब्लिश पोर्ट्स. जैसे मुंबई पोर्ट को काफी ज्यादा अब रेनोवेट कर दिया गया है. योर पोर्ट्स इन गुजरात, विशाखापट्टनम, वाइजैग, ऑल दीज पोर्ट्स आर नाउ स्ट्रेंथनिंग. देयर इज वन मोर प्रोजेक्ट which will link Sagarmala. It is Bharatmala. Have you heard of Bharatmala? What is there in Bharatmala? The ports will be connected through railways and road networks. सिर्फ पोर्ट्स बनाने से नहीं होगा, आपको उसको अंदर तक कनेक्ट, इंडस्ट्रीज तक कनेक्ट करना होगा. ठीक है. सो इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर डेवलपमेंट, ये बाकी सारा जो चीज है, इट विल टेक टाइम, इट विल टेक इन्वेस्टमेंट्स, और ये एक और चैलेंज बन गया. नेक्स्ट, ब्रीफ अबाउट व्हाट इज द स्टेटस ऑफ इकोनॉमिक टाइज बिटवीन इंडिया एंड ईरान. India and Iran have a total bilateral trade in last financial year that amounts to $2.33 billion. ये बहुत ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट नहीं है ये फिगर्स, बट आपको एक रफ आइडिया होना चाहिए दैट हाउ वी आर डीलिंग विद ईरान. देयर इज अ ग्रोथ ऑफ 21% इन द ट्रेड. इंडियाज एक्सपोर्ट टू ईरान is 1.66 billion and India's import to Iran, import from Iran is around 672.12 million. We are in a trade surplus with Iran, okay, and the main reason is not that they like Indian products. The main reason is they cannot buy from anywhere else. There are only limited options that they have. Trade has decreased by 23.32% compared to the corresponding figures of previous year. That means these trades have fallen a little. India mainly export agricultural goods, livestock products to Iran, including meat, milk and all these products. Imports from Iran include methyl alcohol, petroleum, bitumen and all these other industrial gases and products. FDI inflows from Iran to India were recorded at just 1 million from 2000 to December 23. That means there is less investments coming from Iran to India. India is currently does not import Iranian oil as Tehran is under sanctions from United Nations. So earlier we were doing that, but very recently we have stopped buying Iranian oil. Iran is also one of the largest exporters of oil in the world, but because of the sanctions they are not selling oil. ठीक है, they cannot sell their oil, at least directly to these countries. Indirect कई तरीकों से इंडिया खरीदता है, बट डायरेक्टली अभी कोई ट्रेड ऑयल रिलेटेड नहीं हो रहा है. सो दिस वाज अ ब्रीफ अबाउट इंडिया ईरान रिलेशंस. सी छाबार पोर्ट पर 2017 में देयर वाज अ क्वेश्चन. कैन यू गाइस अटेम्प्ट इट? Okay, how many for A? Raise your hands. B, C and D. Okay, so the correct answer is C. Simple. Then there is one practice question as well, but before coming to the practice question, if you want to note some important points, you can. Just note down these two companies. Chabahar agreement between these two countries for operating Shahid Basti terminal. Done? Done? Just note down these two companies, that's it. बाकी कुछ मत करो, मैं बताऊंगा बाकी. Then very quickly write down the location of Chabahar in the Sistan Baluchistan province on Makran coast. And Chabahar has two ports, Shahid Kalantari and Shahid Basti. Done? Okay. Progress, all these things are not required. हम आगे बढ़ सकते हैं. Problems, this, just note down the significance of Chabahar. One more thing, guys, like I will show you the question and then we will discuss that how all these points will help you to frame answers in mains. ऐसा नहीं है कि सारे points are required for prelims, but this explanation and points will help you to analyze different type of question in mains. जरूरी नहीं है कि सिर्फ छाबार पर एक क्वेश्चन अलग से आएगा. No, a question can be on India's mobility to Central Asia. When there is a question on India's mobility to Central Asia, you cannot just write about Chabahar. लिखना तो बाकी पॉइंट्स के बारे में भी होगा, बट छाबार के बारे में लेट्स से आपको सिर्फ 2 पैराग्राफ ही लिखने हो. सो यू विल गेट ऑल द पॉइंट्स फ्रॉम हियर. सो हो सकता है कि एक टॉपिक जो हम पढ़े समझे वो आपको हेल्प करे किसी क्वेश्चन का एक पार्ट लिखने में. आर यू गेटिंग दिस व्हाट आई एम ट्राइंग टू से? So I will explain this with much easy way from the question that UPSC has asked. Significance में just write down alternative trade route to bypass Pakistan. That's it. Alternative trade route to bypass Pakistan. And write down it will be a gateway to INSTC. Just note down those 3 points. It will be a gateway to INSTC. Alternative route to bypass Pakistan and gateway to INSTC. Done? Then you can, next significance, economic benefits. First write down it will save 30% of the cost and 40% of transportation time. It will, economic benefit, it will save 30% of the cost and 40% transportation time. And then write down it will help India to connect, it will help India to connect with Central Asian countries extending to Europe and Russia. Connect with Central Asian countries extending to Europe and Russia. Understood? Okay. Then Just use this word humanitarian assistance. That's it. Next significance is to provide humanitarian assistance. Examples you can quote later on. Humanitarian assistance. ठीक है? Then you can straight away write down increasing strategic influence and regional stability. Increasing strategic influence and regional stability and countering China's BRI. Strategic influence and regional stability and countering China's BRI. Strategic influence and regional stability by countering, increasing strategic influence and regional stability by countering China's BRI. Also acting on sea piracy. Also acting on sea piracy in the region. Acha, one more thing guys, what is the advantage of noting down such bullet points? We are not noting the complete slide down, but we are noting the bullet points. How it will help you, like this practice you can do for later on, for anything that you read in current affairs. Let's say you want to revise Chabahar, you need to remember some points in your mind for Chabahar. So when it comes to significance, just read down these bullet points. And all these explanation will automatically come in your mind and you can elaborate these points easily if needed in exam. अगर सेम पॉइंट्स पे लेट्स से द क्वेश्चन इज स्पेसिफिक ऑन चाबार एंड वहां पर बोला है कि व्हाट इज द सिग्निफिकेंस ऑफ चाबार, तो इफ यू रिमेंबर दीज 4-5 पॉइंट्स ऑन योर टिप्स यू कैन इलैबोरेट देम वेरी इजीली इन एग्जाम. ये सारे पॉइंट अपने आप याद आ जाएंगे एग्जाम में, अभी नहीं बट व्हेन यू हैव रेड दिस मल्टीपल टाइम्स वो अपने आप याद आने लगेंगे. सो मेक दिस प्रैक्टिस ऑफ नोटिंग सच बुलेट पॉइंट्स. सिग्निफिकेंस 5 बुलेट पॉइंट्स, मेरिट्स, चैलेंजेस, इस तरह से 5 याद कर लिए, वो अपने आप एक्सप्लेन कर दोगे. सो नेक्स्ट चैलेंजेस, जस्ट राइट डाउन यूएस ईरान इशू. challenges, first challenge US Iran issue. Second, Houthi Red Sea crisis. Houthi Red Sea crisis. That's it. Then write down security concerns and regional tensions. In bracket write down security concerns and regional tensions. In bracket write down Afghanistan, Pakistan, Israel, Russia-Ukraine war. Security concerns and regional tensions. In bracket write down Afghanistan, Pakistan, Israel, Russia-Ukraine war. All these regions are unstable right now. Next, competition from IMAC. Everyone add IMAC as homework for today. Read about IMAC. competition from IMEC. And IMEC is the most recent one. ये अक्टूबर अराउंड में इंट्रोड्यूस करा था, लॉन्च करा था. G20 में IMEC was in news. The G20 delegation has discussed on this IMEC to develop a new transport corridor. So G20 was in December, ठीक है. So it was in news in last 6 months of 2023. Competition from IMEC. Then next challenge is cost and competition from China. Cost in terms of infrastructure development and all those things. ठीक है. Cost as a challenge. Then competition from China. This slide is not that important, so we can skip. Now see these two questions. One is from 2017 and one is from 2018. In what ways would ongoing US-Iran nuclear pact controversy affect national interest of India? How should India respond to this situation? Can you see the question? Can you use some points from this topic what we have discussed? अब सारा कुछ इस discussion से नहीं मिलेगा, but can you fetch some points from this discussion? Now the objective is this only. Learn this art. ठीक है. अब US ईरान न्यूक्लियर पैक्ट उस टाइम पर न्यूज में था. ये पहले बराक ओबामा और यूएस उस टाइम पर ईरान ने एक एग्रीमेंट साइन कर लिया था जहां पर ईरान एग्रीड दैट इफ यू रिमूव सैंक्शंस हम अपना न्यूक्लियर को एनरिचमेंट रोक देंगे, हम 4% के पास ही रहेंगे, हम उसके बियॉन्ड न्यूक्लियर एनरिचमेंट नहीं करेंगे. देयर वाज अ डील व्हिच वाज वेरी पॉजिटिव फॉर इंडिया बिकॉज इंडिया वांट गुड रिलेशंस विद ईरान एंड यूएस. But as soon as Trump came in, he broke that agreement. He came out from that agreement. If I remember the exact agreement, आप उसको होमवर्क में पढ़ सकते हो. JCOP, Joint Comprehensive. मैं आपको exact बताता हूँ. I am skipping the abbreviation. JCPOA. It is POA. Full form is Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. ये साइन हुआ था यूएस ईरान के बीच में. Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. Please add this as homework today. Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. अच्छा फटाफट सेकंड क्वेश्चन देखो. द क्वेश्चन ऑन इंडियाज एनर्जी सिक्योरिटी कॉन्स्टिट्यूट्स मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट ऑफ इंडियाज इकोनॉमिक प्रोग्रेस. एनर्जी सिक्योरिटी एज अ पार्ट ऑफ इकोनॉमिक प्रोग्रेस. एनालाइज इंडियाज एनर्जी पॉलिसी कॉपरेशन विद वेस्ट एशियन कंट्रीज. अगेन ये डिस्कशन से आप पॉइंट्स फेच कर सकते हो बिकॉज इट इज डेलिबरेटली मेंशनिंग कॉपरेशन विद वेस्ट एशियन कंट्रीज. सो इसमें छाबार का एक पैराग्राफ आ सकता है वेयर हाउ छाबार कैन बी हेल्पफुल फॉर इंडियाज एनर्जी सिक्योरिटी. समझाया ना कैसे सेंट्रल एशिया से एनर्जी रिसोर्सेज वी कैन टेक एंड ऑल दोस थिंग्स. सो राइट डाउन बोथ द क्वेश्चंस. कल का क्वेश्चन हाउ मेनी ऑफ यू हैव ट्राइड प्रैक्टिसिंग? ओके गुड गाइस. एटलीस्ट ऐसा हो रहा होगा कि यू आर स्टक समवेयर, नहीं लिखा जा रहा, बट कोई बात नहीं. whatever comes to your mind, try attempting it. Okay, this is the difference. बाकी जिसने नहीं लिखा कोई बात नहीं, 6 अटेम्प्ट है यूपीएससी के. We'll discuss towards the end of the class. ठीक है. Please note down these 2 questions for today.